Hey, this is Krista Greenbeans coming at you from Texas, USA, and you're watching RobMotive.
But Ossifer, it was windy outside. Well, good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Let me get this window up. Welcome to the channel. It's a windy day out here. I'm out cruising around in the Tacoma, and we're having wind gusts. I don't know, something like 30, maybe 40 mile an hour. It's quite windy. And it reminded me of something that, and it's hot too, man. It's 91 right now. But it reminded me of something that I had forgotten when it comes to driving the Tacoma, right? You know, I am here from Ohio, and we don't get tons of wind in Ohio unless it's during a storm. And then it can get really windy, right? I mean, a severe thunderstorm or something. But you got to be ready for this because it's going to catch you by surprise. When you're driving a truck, it's a higher profile vehicle. I mean, we all know this, right? And when it's windy outside, they move. The wind will toss you around on the road, depending on how windy you're at and what kind of an area you're in. I mean, if it's open and there's nothing to block the wind and it's just blowing like mad, it's going to move you around the road. And you need to be ready for that, you know? Don't overreact. I'm sure there are people out there that do it. They feel a little bit of a nudge to the right and they way overcorrect the other way, you know, and then they're in the other lane. Or they're off the road. Who knows? People do crazy things. But it's just something to be aware of, you know, when you're driving your Tacoma around and it's windy, especially if you move to a different area like I did. I can just feel the wind pushing against the side of the truck right now. It's blowing that way. And you kind of have to fight it just a little bit to keep the truck where it should be. It's not a problem. It's nothing wrong with the truck. It's just the way it is. The bigger you are, the more wind you're going to catch, right? But one thing that is kind of disheartening, I must admit, it reminds me of the first time I was in, and I think it was a Tacoma several years ago, probably my first one. And I was driving in a severe thunderstorm, you know, that kind of stuff where the sky starts to turn black. You can see it coming, right? The clouds are rolling in, they're low, you start to get a little bit of lightning. It starts to gets a little bit disheartening out there. But anyway, I believe it was driving home on the freeway. And that's when I ran into it and got hit by storm, you know, coming in, and it starts to buffet the truck all over the place, you know, and of course you're going slow because it's raining like mad, you know, a lot like the weather they had a few days ago in northwestern Texas and Oklahoma. You know, there was a lot of tornadoes, a lot of severe storms. The weather guys were going nuts, telling you it's the end of the world. People were running to their basements. It's craziness. Well, it was one of those kind of storms, right? So, you know, I'm on the freeway and I'm driving home and I'm, you know, at 2 mile an hour, bumper to bumper. I hate going slow in that kind of weather. It just freaks me out. But anyway, I'm driving home. It's pouring down rain, lightning, thunder, all kinds of stuff. And then I finally get off the freeway and I'm at a stoplight, right? And the wind is coming from behind me, from whatever direction, I have no idea, but coming from behind me, right? And as I'm sitting there at the stoplight, I can actually feel the rear of the truck doing this in the wind, you know, kind of lifting up a little bit because, you know, it's light, it's long, and the wind kind of goes underneath and catches it, right? It's a very strange feeling. You know, when you first experience it, and this is really for you guys out there who maybe don't have a truck or have never experienced this yet, because you will, in your truck, it's very strange, right? I mean, you're sitting there, you're at the stoplight, you know it's storming like crazy outside, and if you're from an area that's prone to severe weather, high winds, or tornadoes, and of course, in Ohio anymore, probably everywhere anymore, whenever you get a severe storm, there's always a tornado threat. You know, those crazy weather guys, you know, the ones that get on there during the hurricanes and stuff, and they're fighting the wind and can barely stand up, and then in the background, you see two people just normally walking by. You know, that kind of thing. They like to spread paranoia, terror. But anyway, you get that kind of weather where there's always some kind of a tornado warning or threat or something, you know. And they say, of course, that they can happen at any time, you know. In a severe storm, you can have a tornado. So it's always, at least for me, it's always in the back of my mind, because I'm a weather weirdo anyway. But it's always in the back of my mind. So back to the story, you know, I'm sitting at the light, and it's just going crazy. It's the end of the world, you know. And then I start to feel this, the back end starting to pump up a little bit. I'd never experienced it before, right? First time in the truck. And I'm thinking, what's going on? You know, and you start to do one of these. You start to look around, you know, you're looking at the other people, you're seeing what they're doing. It's kind of like being on a plane. The first time you're on a plane, and they're kind of rickety, you know. They make a lot of noise, and there's a lot of things rattling around and stuff. And if you've never been on one before and experienced it, you don't know what to expect, right? So you start doing that, looking around. You look at the other people, you know, make sure that they're not panicking, because you assume that, you know, they are more experienced than you are, right? That they've done this before, so if something were wrong, you know, they would know. You'd see the panic on their face just before you panic, you know what I mean? So I'm doing that. I'm sitting at the light, and I'm feeling that in the truck, and the truck's, you know, moving around and stuff, and I'm like, what the heck, man? Is this normal? I mean, this is a heavy truck, right? I mean, it weighs, I don't know what they weigh, 3,800 pounds, whatever they weighed back then. Probably more steel, probably more than they do today, but it's just bouncing all over the place, man. And I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? Is this thing gonna, like, you know, go over? Is the rear end gonna lift off the ground? When I punch the gas, are the tires still gonna be in contact with the pavement? I don't know, I never experienced it before. But what a freaky thing, what a freaky feeling, what a weird feeling. Because you're not used to it, you know. If you're in an area that doesn't have that kind of weather often, or maybe you're a new driver, or maybe you've just moved somewhere, you know, like I have here, where it's windy, it seems like all the time. You're not used to that kind of thing, and when you experience it for the first time, it's very strange, I think. And even more so, you know, we've gone out to South Padre Island here a couple of times, and they have this long bridge, you know, that goes from the mainland, I guess, over to the island, and it gets kind of high, and it can get kind of windy up there, you know, even when it's not, you know, as windy down here on the ground, at ground level, and you're over the water, and that's a freaky feeling too, you know. You're in the truck, and you're cruising along, and the wind starts to buffet it, and again, you know, there's a stoplight just before, or right there before you go over the bridge. So when you're sitting there and you start to feel that, and you know you're going to go over that bridge, right? You're going to be up in the air, I don't know how many feet, so you know it's going to be worse. And it's just a kind of a weird feeling, something that you should be aware of, I think. You know, if you get a truck, you're going to experience things a little bit differently than you would in a car when it comes to wind. And I think you need to be aware of that so that you don't overreact should you experience those kind of conditions, you know, that you keep the truck on the road. You know, the worst thing that could happen, I would think, and there's a story for you to tell, is, yeah, I was driving down the road yesterday, and the wind blew, and I drove my truck off the road. What? You did what? The wind blew and you went off the road? It's crazy. But anyway, I'm sure it's happened, you know. I'm sure it's happened out there, and I would hate to be the person that has that story to tell, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, kind of talk about that a little bit, let you guys know my experience. And again, for those of you who have never had a truck before, or it's your first one, or maybe you've moved to an area that is prone to much windier, severe weather than where you're at before. Ohio, Texas, pretty much everywhere now. To know what to expect when you jump in that truck. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Maybe when it's not so windy. On the web. Have a great day. Bye.